Today we're going to talk about the top 10 wide receivers of the 2010s. Before we start, I want you all to know that I'm not just looking at stats alone. A wideout's production is heavily tied to the quarterback, and I don't think it's fair to punish a receiver for something that is out of his control. We'll start the list off at 1 and work our way up to 10. Let's go. Number 1, Calvin Johnson. Come on, who else is going to be here? Johnson was a creative player in Madden turned to real life. His 6'5" frame and speed made him a nightmare for defensive backs. He was the greatest at jump balls, even better than Moss. He was not only double teamed, but triple teamed at times. I will argue till the cows come home that Megatron is better than Jerry Rice. No, he doesn't have the accolades, but he also did not have Montana or Young throwing to him. No disrespect to Matthew Stafford, very nice quarterback. Johnson's magnum opus was his 2012 season, where he led the league in receptions. Also, he had the most receiving yards ever in an NFL season. Johnson retired in his prime, which was a damn shame, because had he kept playing, he would have definitely retired top 2 in receiving yards, top 5 in receiving touchdowns, and top 3 in receptions. These are just things based on projections, of course. Number 2, Antonio Brown. Get your CTE jokes out now. I don't know why people are making jokes about a condition that everyone acts like they care about. But I guess when it's someone people hate, it's fair game. Believe it or not, AB used to be normal. I guess. Overlooked by scouts due to his small stature, okayish hands, and his small school, Brown outworked everyone once he got into the pros. He formed the trio with Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell, better known as the Killer Bees. 84 was without question the best receiver in the league once Megatron retired. He was an All-Pro in 4 straight seasons and was a regular at the Pro Bowl. In 2018, Brown got into an alleged argument with Big Ben and skipped multiple practices leading up to a Week 17 matchup against the Bengals. This caused Brown to be benched for that game. That offseason, Brown demanded a trade, and the Steelers were more than happy to get rid of him, sending him to the Raiders, where he threatened retirement almost immediately because he couldn't wear his old helmet due to new safety guidelines. After back and forth with Raiders GM Mike Mayock, Brown was released from the Raiders before the first game of the season. He was picked up by the New England Patriots, only to be dropped a few weeks later. It's a shame that such a bright career went down the drain so fast. What's even more disheartening is that there is no way, and you can quote me on this, no way Brown makes the Hall of Fame due to his actions off the field. Number 3, Julio Jones. I was tempted to put Julio over Brown due to recency bias, but I could not in good conscience do that. The production difference between the two guys were razor thin in my opinion. Drafted 6th overall in the famed 2011 draft, Julio, who was drafted to be the eventual successor to Roddy White, showed why his stats at Alabama were no fluke. In his 4th season, Jones elevated to elite status. He would garner 6 straight Pro Bowls to go along with 2 All-Pros. In 2015, wait, that's his nickname? Wait, Julio is not his real name? Learn something new every day. In 2015, Julio would lead the league in receiving yards and receptions, but not touchdowns, which Jones seemed to be allergic to in those days. 2016 wasn't as good as 2015, but Jones' play helped elevate the Falcons' offense to one of the best in the league. The highlight of that season was Jones massacring the Panthers' defense to the tune of 12 catches for 300 yards and a touchdown. Many people will remember the Falcons' total collapse in Super Bowl 51, but not many outside of Falcons faithful will remember this insane catch late in the 4th quarter of that game. A great play squandered. Thanks, Dan Quinn. Number 4, Larry Fitzgerald. Just as good in the 2010s as the 2000s, Larry Legend continued to terrorize defenses despite having subpar quarterback play for a decent stretch of the decade. The Cardinals continued to waste Fitzgerald's career by being complete asswater in the 2010s, minus a deep playoff run in 2015, ending in an NFC Championship game appearance. That playoff run included number 11 once again dad-dicking the Packers in another epic playoff matchup. There needs to be something said about how humble Fitzgerald was as a player. He was clearly the best player while he was on the field for the majority of the snaps in his career, and he abused defenders like the best of them. Despite all of this, he never really jawed with anyone. It may not seem like a big deal, but how many of you have bragged about lesser accomplishments? Hell, I remember talking mad shit one game when I scored a game-winning goal in Ultimate Frisbee. Number 5, DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins could have been the next Andre Johnson, a Texans great that played with bad quarterbacks his entire career. Fortunately, Hopkins was able to play with an elite quarterback in Deshaun Watson and actually got out of the hellhole organization that is known as the Houston Texans. I still cannot believe that Bill O'Brien traded Hopkins away to Arizona for a half-eaten tuna sandwich. And I know that was technically in the 2020s, but I'm not going to wait 10 years to talk about that, damn it. Hopkins immediately showed everyone why he was the real deal. In only his second game of his career, he sunned the Tennessee Titans with multiple catches as well as the game winner. Nuke is without question the best sideline catcher in the league and was the best wideout at the end of the decade. Number 6, Brandon Marshall. I will not allow Mr. Brandon Markeith Marshall to be forgotten. This man was an absolute monster on the field and had absolute garbage throwing to him for most of those years. Yes, Jay Cutler is and will always be trash. Marshall put up Hall of Fame numbers, and I do mean Hall of Fame numbers, despite 2015 Ryan Fitzpatrick being the best quarterback he's ever had. If this man was given a few seasons with just an above average signal caller, he would have done so much more. Marshall earned 6 Pro Bowls and an All-Pro with these guys throwing to him. These are the same accolades Reggie Wayne had in his career, and he had the motherfucking GOAT throwing to him. The playoffs would elude Marshall for all of the 2010s. This man deserved much better in his career. And to be honest, I really do believe this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't care what anybody says. He needs to be in Canton. He needs to be in Canton. Number 7, AJ Green. Starting your career off with 7 Pro Bowls would seem like a good way to skyrocket on this list. But I'm going to go against the grain here. Yes, Green was pretty good in the decade, but he was, and I'll die on this hill, not better than the guys above him on this list. Unlike the previous guys I just mentioned, Green was lucky to have a decent signal caller throughout the decade. Green did his best to make the Bengals a serious threat in the AFC, but that team employed Marvin Lewis, so we all knew that wasn't going to happen. Green dealt with an ankle injury that caused him to miss all of the 2019 season. In the 2020s, he has shown flashes of his former self, but it's pretty evident that his best years are behind him. Number 8, Dez Bryant. He caught it. Dez had gotten the reputation as being an overrated player, which is a load of BS. He played for Dallas, which means that even if you are good, you're overrated, because America hates the boys. Wearing double 8 for the Cowboys is a prestigious honor, and one that players don't take lightly. Dez had that dog in him and was a top 5 wideout between 2012 and 2014. Fun fact, Bryant got absolutely snubbed in 2012. Bryant was a physical receiver that was almost impossible to stop once he had a full head of steam. He threw up the X constantly because he wanted defenses to know that they need to watch him. The Cowboys in the 2010s were a solid squad, but they just kept coming up short in the worst possible ways. That being said, Bryant always showed out when it was time to play. In 2018, Bryant unfortunately had an Achilles injury and missed the entire season and did not play at all in 2019. Like I said before, wearing double 8 for the Cowboys comes with the weight of producing, and Dez did not disappoint. Number 9, Mike Evans. All Mike Evans does is have 1,000-yard seasons. An underrated talent before Brady, Evans will go down as a Hall of Famer if his 2020s production is as good as his 2010s production. Evans did benefit from playing in a pass-happy offense with Jameis Winston throwing him the ball, but that means jack squat, especially since Evans had shown dominance since his rookie season. Also, he played with Jameis Winston. With his 6'5" frame, Mike was a perfect target in the red zone, racking up 12 scores in his debut season. I'm so happy that Evans is finally getting the respect he deserves in the new decade because the 2010s media overlooked his talents far too often. Number 10, Odell Beckham Jr. Listen, this was a hard, and I mean hard list to make. I know some fans are going to be mad at me for not mentioning their guy. I could have chosen a lot of guys for this spot, but I'm going to choose OBJ. Why? Because out of all the guys not on this list, he's the one I'd want on my team the most. Yes, he's annoying. And yes, I know he played in a big market. However, that does not discount the things he did during the 2010s. The first image many of us see when thinking about OBJ is that one-handed grab. It was an awesome catch, but the catch was just a mere taste of what he could do. Beckham Jr. had to deal with the same accusations of being overrated as Dez Bryant, but unlike Dez, he was never able to skyrocket into the top 3 wideout category. Nevertheless, OBJ balled out every Sunday, and unlike what many people say, he was not a diva during this time. The man was just animated and passionate, and that attitude was only matched in his gameplay. Thanks for watching. As a farewell gift, until next time, here's my favorite play from my favorite wide receiver of the decade. Bye.